families like Legends family and so many others. I'll just speak briefly on what this operation is and what this operation is not. This operation is not tanks in the streets. This operation is not a substitute patrol force. This operation is not over-enforcement from federal law enforcement. This is not an operation where anyone is coming to take over the work that either our police department does here locally or other authorities and agencies do. What this is about support, and it's about support for victims of violent crimes in Kansas City. I've had the chance over recent days to talk to Legend's family. His mother is with us today. His grandparents are with us. To talk with Rosalind Temple, who's lost her own child to violent crime and who has consoled many families, many parents, many people in an entire community when we talk about violent crime. And what I've heard in recent days is this. This isn't a question of politics. This isn't a question of bureaucratic egos and what gets done and what's right, all of that. What this is about is how we can find justice. The work that will be done in connection with this operation, and we've been assured by the United States Attorney, and I know he'll have more to say, the work that's been done and will be done in this operation are the types of things that are enhanced investigative tools to help us solve these crimes, to help us find murderers of small children, to help us find a way that we can get past some of our violent crime concerns here in Kansas City. The U.S. Attorney himself noted the other day that we will not enforce our way out of a violent crime problem, and we understand that. That's why my office is also working with the Department of Justice to try to obtain grants relating to mental health treatment, to help find grants to help conflict resolution, de-escalation, so many important goals in connection with what we do. But we also know that we need to find justice for families and justice for victims. And that's why we're here today with Legends family. That's the work that I know I'm committed to, the U.S. Attorney, the Police Department, our City Council. We will make sure that we're accountable to the people of Kansas City. We will make sure, and indeed we had a conversation on Monday with folks from our civil rights community, from our activist community, from our clergy community. We will make sure that all know what this operation is about, what the facts are, and instead of talking about all these fictions, battles in Washington, all of that, that's not why we're here today, and that's not what we're all about. So I want to say thank you, particularly to the family. I know you all are all grieving, and I know you all deserve justice. And we will make sure that you find it, and we will make sure that we ensure there are not more folks that have to go through what you are dealing with. Kansas City needs to be a safer community. This is one of many steps to getting us in that direction. So with that, thank you, and I'll introduce our United States Attorney, Tim Garrison.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Lucas. I agree with everything that he just said. This press availability today is here to build off of the communication that we had starting Monday with community leaders, as the mayor said, with community leaders, community activists, clergy, and families that have been affected by the unprecedented levels of violence that we're experiencing this year in Kansas City. As I've said in previous statements, an unprecedented spike in violent crime deserves an unprecedented response from government authorities. And I can't control everything that's done in the name of law enforcement and criminal justice, but while I'm privileged to hold the position of United States Attorney, I'm going to do everything that I can to bring the peace and stability that the citizens of Kansas City deserve. The rule of law matters, and that's what this operation is about, because we frankly have pockets of Kansas City where the rule of law does not hold sway. That's why I placed these statistics on the screen for you to see here today. You can see a year by year running total of where we stood in terms of homicides on a given day. These are the statistics from this morning, from July 15th. And you can see that for each of the previous years, the total of homicides that has existed as of this date is nowhere near where it is this year. It's an unprecedented level of violence. And so that's why the Department of Justice sought out the opportunity to have an impact here with the cooperation of local law enforcement. Again, the mayor said it well. This event this morning is to talk about both what Operation Legend is and what it's not. It is not about troops. It is not about tanks. These are professional criminal investigators and analysts who are coming to Kansas City to assist local law enforcement, not to replace them. They'll be conducting investigations into homicides and other shootings based on the existing apparatus of a weekly shoot review conducted by the Kansas City Police Department in cooperation with the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, and the United States Marshals Service. It's an effort to assist the Kansas City Police Department in investigating these unsolved crimes so that we can increase the clearance rate of these crimes, including unsolved crimes such as the murder of Legend Taliaferro. This is not about, as I've seen stated in some circles, this is not about suppressing protests. My oath is to protect the Constitution. We support the exercise of constitutional rights. This is not about a federal takeover. The local law enforcement is in the lead. The federal agencies are in support of local law enforcement here. And this is not a political stunt. I'm not an elected official. I'm not running for office. I'm here to do the good that I can while I have this opportunity. And we are proud and humbled at the same time to have the support of Sharon Powell and her family. Thankful for her parents here today. Thankful for the support of Kansas City Mothers in Charge and Rosalind Temple to come alongside our local law enforcement partners to work together to reduce violent crime. That's all I have to say, but be happy to take any questions that you might have for us.
So,
I might ask, do you all want to say anything?
Don't have to?
Sir, you don't have to? No. Do you, sir? No, I'm good. Feel free.
Okay. Rosalind, anything you want to add? Okay, go ahead.
As many of us know that we need help in Kansas City. We've been needing help for a while. Over 100 homicides every year, that's a problem. These are lives. When you touch the life of a 4-year-old child, that's more devastating. But we stand at 101 homicides here in Kansas City on the top to top it off. We just in July. If we can't see as a community that we need the community help also with the law enforcement, with the mayor, with the U.S. attorney, we got to do better to help the homicide, our Kansas City Police Department, to help our homicide unit. It's going to take a community to step up. I've been saying this for many years. Until we address us, nothing's going to change. So I challenge today my community to step up and help us with Operation Legend. It's sad that a 4-year-old had to get our attention, had to do something. This mom hurts. As a mother losing a child, you never get over. You learn to live through the process and heal through the process. We have hope that Sharon will make it, her family will make it, his dad will make it, that's not here. But as a community, I'm challenging my community to step up and speak out. Let's do something that we have never done. Let's embrace this operation. Let's embrace this more law enforcement come in to help our police department because they need help. So I just want to challenge my community to do something different today, to make a pledge and say we're going to do something different. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
so it seems to me, since these agents are coming to assist in investigations, it seems like it's about more boots on the ground, or do these agents have resources that KCPD doesn't normally have access to, and why doesn't KCPD normally have access to those resources?
Sure. I'll explain what I communicated to some of our community leaders on Monday. Each of these agencies, the FBI, ATF, DEA, and Marshals Service, brings a different strength to this fight. The FBI is well known for their strength in conducting complex investigations. The ATF brings just an amazing level of technical ability to help us investigate these crimes. For example, with their crime gun intelligence centers, they're able to detect whether or not shell casings from one incident, say a convenience store robbery, might be connected to the same firearm that was used in a drive-by shooting at another location at another time, and help us connect the dots between acts of violence in this city, because the level of violence is perpetrated by a relatively small number of people. I don't want to suggest that everybody out in Kansas City is carrying a gun. We're trying to use evidence-based, targeted enforcement against the most prolific violent offenders. And those are the technical capabilities that these federal agencies bring to the table. DEA is excellent in identifying those actors who, as you can see in the stats, are related to those incidents of drug-related violence. The United States Marshals Service is excellent at tracking down wanted fugitives. And each of those agencies brings their own strength to this fight. That's how they will be employed.
And KCPD normally has access to all those resources. Right now, it's just kind of ramping them up and making it easier for them all to work together.
Yes, and I should point out, they work together right now. Even before Operation Legend began, there are over 400 federal agents in the Kansas City area already working here, living in and among us. Most people have no idea that they're even here. This is simply a supplement to those forces that are already here, already cooperating with local law enforcement. As I said, these agencies already participate in the weekly shoot review that's conducted at the Kansas City Police Department headquarters every week.
How many agents will be coming to the Kansas City area, and how long will they be here?
Well, I won't get into too much of the operational details. We don't like to discuss tactical level decisions, but I will say that the Attorney General has specifically directed these 4 agencies to contribute a total of 225 agents. And those are agents that will be here actively investigating. They will be supplemented by additional logistical, analytical, and supervisory staff in addition to those 225 agents. But that's the number that's coming.
What is the mission or the goal of this operation as far as numbers go? How many arrests, how many crimes solved?
Well, the goal is always all of them. That's the goal. We don't want any violent act to go unprosecuted by our criminal justice system. But this is not about numbers. This is about lives. We're not going to say we're here to conduct X number of arrests, and when we reach that total, we're going to leave. Our goal is to identify the most prolific violent offenders and to take them out of circulation so that they can't harm anyone else as they've harmed this family.
You mentioned Monday's meeting with community leaders. Can you kind of elaborate on what the conversation was like, some of the concerns that were raised, and also what role they will play in this?
Sure. I'll give my take and then welcome your comments. The rollout of this operation did not go as I would have preferred that it happened. And that happened for a few different reasons. As I've already mentioned, operational security is important to those of us in law enforcement. We don't like to announce beforehand that we're going to be conducting an enforcement operation at a certain time or place, because when we do that, then we tend to find that the bad guys aren't there anymore. And so once this operation became known, it became important for us to explain ourselves to community leaders and to give them an opportunity to have a frank conversation with us. There was concern that more details were not publicized beforehand. I did my best to explain why that was, but now that it's known, we're trying to be as transparent as we can. And we invited, as the mayor said, members of the local clergy, local community activists. We had, I believe, a member of the city council was present, the mayor, affected families, and just tried to explain, as I've previously indicated, what this operation is and is not.
Did you know the White House was going to have that press conference?
No.
I'll just add very briefly, and I will quote you. I won't again. We've got to find justice for families. I'm in politics, and we can spend our whole day talking about what went right, what went wrong, bureaucracy, and all of that. But if we actually aren't finding justice for families, if we aren't making our community safer, then I'm not doing my job. He's not doing his job. And as I said at the beginning, it's my view that part of the reason that I think we're all here today is to share with the community what the operation is and isn't, and is to say, how do we build a path forward? Ms. Temple's challenge to our community, I think, is an apt one. Let's all double our efforts to try to find more ways to solve and to fight violent crime. This is but one part, an important part. Having the investigative tools, some of that support that frankly will be helpful, right? That shell casing, doing the different investigation, and that can help us solve crimes. But I also ask a lot of folks, I know there are a lot of folks that have opined lately about other ways to solve crimes, right? Other ways that we can help in our criminal justice system. Investment in things like our mental health triage center at 12th and Prospect, right? Helping to work with de-escalation in our public schools. Those are lots of the things that I know my office has supported. When we have federal partners who are able to support us, they've worked with us on that. The police department has as well. And so I would hope that what we do, frankly, from our meeting on Monday, and certainly today, is that we're looking at in some way, a new beginning and how we look at this operation and our cooperation ongoing. I will also say this to the United States Attorney's credit. After the White House press announcement, I believe I talked to him on the phone within an hour or 2 hours after that. We probably talked 3 or 4 times on the phone since then. I know he has reached out and been available to families. We will continue to do that, and we'll continue to be available to any community group, any community activist, anyone that wants to be part of our conversation. And that conversation is, how do we make our communities safer? There's a lot of talk in America right now about police reform. I'll continue to be part of those chats. But as important, if not more important, is making sure that a 4-year-old can sleep through the night in Kansas City. More important is making sure that we're not looking at every shoot review that I actually go to, and I go to all of them too, where every week in Kansas City, and people may not know this, every week in Kansas City we have a minor who's shot, many of whom live, but we have young people who are getting shot every week in this city. That's what we need to be resolved to stop. And that's why we're doing this sort of work today. Are there any other questions for you?
Are they working on like unsolved cases, or are they going to be, if there's a shooting this weekend, will they jump in and help with that too, with their expertise?
Yes, I would say the answer to both of those questions is yes. These agencies, as they already are, will continue to participate in the weekly shoot review to identify new cases that need to be worked. I've also been working with Police Chief Rick Smith to identify unsolved cases, historical cases that perhaps need a shot in the arm from investigative help. And so they'll be working both new and historically unsolved cases.
Are we, with that, thank you all. You guys probably. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.